One day late, but just as gay. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host, Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 5 of The Summer Hikaru Died. And yeah, we are a day late on this. For those who don't know, don't live in America or whatnot, yesterday was a holiday here. And so because of that, I basically had to take the day off. I didn't really have much of a choice. And there was no One Piece this week anyway, so it kind of made it a little easier because of that anyway. Which I didn't even know until, I think day of or day before. But yeah, there was no One Piece. So I just decided to move Hikaru to today. And the last saga of Epic the Musical will be next Monday, along with more One Piece and Hikaru and all that. So yeah, still getting Hikaru this week, just a day late. So let's get into it. We're really getting interesting. We're starting to bring in more of the village and all, starting to get more of their views on things. We have the hamster guy setting up these barriers, which Hikaru is noticing right away. And they're really starting to set up for more of like a more serious shift, I feel, in terms of the horror aspect of it all. Because it's been very light in regards to that so far. It's kind of setting up and building up a lot while also, focusing on the, gay. And so I feel like the second half of this season is really going to go heavy into the horror aspect. And so they're really starting to get to that point now. I'm very curious to see what this episode will do in regards to all of this. But yeah, I think we should just get into it and find out. So let's check the episode out. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So to get it out of the way right off the bat, we have to talk about the sex scene, for lack of a better way to put it, because it's like, we know what it's an allegory of. We knew what it was an allegory of the first time they did this. It's meant to represent experimentation, sexual experimentation, between these two boys. It's a big representation of the inherent queerness and the allegorical queerness of this series. And so the first time we see this happen in, what was it, episode 2? It's the first experimentation, and it's purely one-sided. Yoshiki is reaching inside of Hikaru. And you could take this to mean whatever you wish in terms of the allegory, but it's a one-sided thing. Here, Hikaru acts back. Hikaru chooses to reach to Yoshiki as well. And this freaks Yoshiki out. This is obviously representative of, okay, the first time it's just Yoshiki doing this to Hikaru. It's a one-sided thing. He's experimenting. He's trying to figure things out. But the second time, Hikaru reciprocates. And we see that it goes on for a bit of time before Yoshiki truly rejects it. before he tells him to stop. And again, this is obviously allegorical of, sexual experimentation. And so you can kind of imagine what this is in reference to. And with this being, in a way, a coming-of-age gay story, it's very much like that kind of idea of, it's like, okay, I'll do experimentation, I'll like try this out, but I don't want you to touch me back, because I'm not ready for that. I'm not like prepared for that. I want to take this one step at a time. But Hikaru wanted to reciprocate because Hikaru loves Yoshiki as well. And so he acted without really thinking about it. And he didn't mean to hurt or scare Yoshiki by any means. But that's what happened. He scared him. He freaked him out because he's still figuring himself out here. And he wasn't ready to be touched back. We're comparing it to. So, yeah, it's pretty blatantly obvious what this is trying to say. It doesn't hide the metaphor here at all, and I actually really like that, because these kind of metaphors and allegories should be very blatant. It allows the point to be gotten across, but it can still be viewed in a way to where you can see it for what it's showing. So it's like you see both sides. It's like you obviously understand what it's trying to say, but you can still see it as just like, Yoshiki literally reaching into Hikaru's weird monster body and Hikaru somehow reaching back. It's like, in a literal sense, it's like, how does this exactly work? Is it like that he's mentally infiltrating him because they have that like physical connection? It is something like that. But I'm not too worried about the more literal interpretation, because like one of the biggest reasons I watch this show, and one of the biggest reasons I'm like so into it, is because of the metaphor and allegory. It's the depth of what this show is trying to say, and that's what has hooked me in. And so it's just the way it's presented here is very well done. And I've talked about, like, I think I talked about it either last episode or the episode before that, how, like, when I was young and when I still, falsely identified as male and everything, I did experiment myself with a friend. And it's something I actually very much do not regret, because it later in life allowed me to like discover a lot about myself for a number of reasons and in a number of ways. And kids will experiment. It's normal, as long as they do so safely, obviously, and as long as they don't go too far. But kids experimenting, or rather teens experimenting, is fairly normal. And so I like that it's portrayed in this kind of like very, very serious, genuine way. It's not like made a joke out of, or not like tried to like kind of like push off as this weird thing. No, it's showcased as being like a natural desire to figure yourself and your friend out, to figure out these feelings that you're having. And that's how it should be portrayed. I am very familiar with the idea of what is going on there. What is like really being like, again, used with this metaphor, with this allegory. So it's something I can easily understand and connect with. because of my personal experiences with it as well. Um, and I'm going to move to the bathroom scene now because that is obviously an extension of this. The bathroom scene is obviously a representative of toxic experimentation. And it's not the first time we've touched on that with this series, but Yoshiki losing control of himself, being possessed by the wig ghost in this case, is represented, and him, like biting Hikaru, scratching his face, and like holding him under the water and everything. It's like we can see what this is trying to represent. Yoshiki letting go of his inhibitions and forcing himself on Hikaru. And this is obviously parallel to the representation of Hikaru doing that to Yoshiki in the classroom and everything. The scene that I equated to sexual assault. Which, again, obviously back in that episode, which I think that was 3, maybe 4. No, I don't think it was last episode. I think it was 3. But obviously Hikaru was extremely repentant right away. He didn't mean to do it. It was just instinct took over. And emotions were at play. It wasn't something that he, like, genuinely meant and wanted to do. And that's why Yoshiki was able to forgive him for that. And again, it was using the literal interpretation of the scene was like he was like trying to kill him or whatnot. But we know what it was representative of there. And this is kind of the flip. Yoshiki is now taking that power onto himself. After the previous scene where he had, where Hikaru had touched him back and everything, he wants to take the power onto himself now because he feels almost like he's been violated, you could say, twice now. And so he kind of like, again, lets go of all his inhibitions and takes it too far. And we can see that Hikaru doesn't hold anything against him, but you also saw that extreme guilt that Yoshiki had when he realized what he had done. He felt like really bad about it. And he even said, it's like the only thing I really remember is like my hand holding him down into the water and everything. And it's like representative of like, he kind of lost control. He just, in a way, snapped. And again, it's representative of him toxically, like, taking things too far. Being way too aggressive in experimentation. And being too forceful. And again, Hikaru doesn't, like, hold it against him. Hikaru, like, doesn't see Yoshiki as the bad guy here at all. But Yoshiki himself is, he's beating himself up over it. Even though, like, after the fact, like, Hikaru's still joking around and goofing off and saying, let's go hunt down frogs. Let's go do that. You're done growing, right? I can have your hamburg steak. It's like, Yoshiki, he does, joke. He does reciprocate the joke and all because he's trying to, like, regain that, happiness. That sense of friendship. He doesn't want to feel as bad as he does. And he's accepting Hikaru's olive branch, you could say. Hikaru is offering the olive branch of just friendship and fun and goofiness to kind of like take Yoshiki's mind off of what he did. And Yoshiki does accept it. And he starts joking around as well. And with that entire line at the end, it's like, he's not Hikaru, he's not even human. but he like wants to live as human and everything. It's like we're clearly seeing here that that Yoshiki is starting to accept him a lot more. That he's starting to see, it's like, this is strange to me. This is alien to me. But I want to make the effort to accept this. And again, this is representative of, Hikaru basically coming out as queer. Hikaru being, taken over by this monster, this whatever it is representative of Hikaru coming out as queer, and Yoshiki is like, experimenting with him, and it's kind of being hidden from the general populace, but they're like trying to sniff things out because things seem weird. It's like you get the metaphors that they're making here. And so Yoshiki coming to accept this more is not just accepting Hikaru, but is accepting himself and his own feelings. Again, it's pretty blatant and pretty obvious with what it's trying to say. And I really like that. Because, like, I made it clear with the first episode, I did not fully buy into the metaphor right off the bat. I felt like it was a little too subtle. And I didn't really get it. I didn't really, like, latch onto it or see the metaphor for as much as it was going to be. But then episode 2 and beyond just started to completely change that. And made it so much more aggressively blatant. And I'm very happy for that, because the first episode of any show should hook you in, and I feel like should have probably done a little bit more with that. And not that it was bad, it definitely hooked me in other ways, but I feel like it didn't give like a full picture of what to expect with this series. Episode 2, on the other hand, did. It made sure that you understood exactly what you were getting into in terms of what this series is trying to say. And so I actually feel like episode 1 was the weakest so far, which, mind you, if the series is just getting better and better, that is a good thing. But, I just wish it did start off with a little more, I wish it started off a little better than it did. A little more blatant with its messaging. But I'm glad that it got there, like, right after that either way. And again, the first episode was still entertaining and interesting enough to want to watch more. I believe what I said after the first episode is that I felt like I wasn't sure about it, like I needed to see more to truly judge it, to truly, like, figure it out. But it's like, once I watched episode 2, it's like, oh, I am in. Which, again, is a good thing, at least. We also have, like, the end credit stuff with, I'm trying to remember their names. Tanaka, I think, was the hamster guy, right? But him and the one guy from the village, I'm just going to call him Mustache Man for now. Mustache Man is, like, seeing everything that, again, I think his name is Tanaka, is doing. And is, like, seeing this guy as dangerous. This is someone who was brought in by the village to kind of investigate things going on. And I compared him, I think, to the likes of, like, a preacher or something before. Like, if you're using, again, the gay metaphor, it's like they're bringing in, like, a preacher, a priest, someone who is going to, like, figure things out in terms of, like, the idea of there being a queer person or queer people in this village. Someone who would come to speak with those suspected of that and turn them away from it. Someone in that kind of realm. It doesn't necessarily have to be exactly a priest, but someone in that kind of realm. And now, this guy is starting to do some, like, crazier shit. Some, like, really weird shit. And Mustache Man is like, oh, this might be a bit too much. This guy might be a danger to even our village. But I might want that. Mustache Man, I feel, is representative of someone who is so aggressively homophobic that he is willing to sacrifice almost anything to stamp queerness out. That he's even considering, like, sacrificing the well-being of this village just to make sure that there's no queer people here, just to make sure that no one is gay, and no one is especially acting on being gay. And I've unfortunately known people like this. People who won't even talk to me since I came out. I've had people literally approach me at public events and try to preach to me about how I'm sinful and in the wrong. And it's a lot to deal with. And that's coming from, like, people I don't know, obviously. But, like, I feel like Yoshiki does know this guy, because this guy, like, I think they were talking about, like, Hikaru's father and all before. So they probably, like, a lot of the villagers probably know each other, generally speaking. So even if he doesn't know him personally, he's probably met him. And so it would probably mean, like, it would probably be a lot worse to have it come from someone you know. And someone who's probably been, like, fairly regularly nice to you. Or at least cordial enough. And I've had people I thought were friends who abandoned me completely after I came out. And so it's like, I understand that point of view too. What it feels like to have people who you thought cared about you treat you like this. And the wildest part is these same people will tell you to your face that the reason they say this stuff, the reason they do this stuff, is because they care about you. And it's so demented. I had friends I was very close with that I hung out with all the time, that I, like, would actively spend time with, who I have not seen in years. In over half a decade now. Because I came out. And it's gonna be obviously a little different, like, coming out as gay than coming out as trans and whatnot. But there's still those same vibes to a degree. And to a degree, you're still going to come across quite a bit of that. It's just going to happen. Even if it's not exactly the same, a lot of the same ideas and a lot of the same hatred is there. And so it's something that I have had to deal with. Now, the one thing I'm not 100% sure of in this, like, in terms of, like, if it's a metaphor for something or how it is the wig ghost itself. I don't know if or what that has to do with, like, any kind of metaphor, especially since it's first shown towards Yoshiki's younger sister. I don't know if, like, there's any, like, specific idea to that. if the wig ghost is representative of anything. I don't know. So if you know what that represents, as long as it's not a spoiler for the future, and can like let me know in the comments, feel free. But if it's a spoiler, if that's going to be something revealed in the future, obviously do not tell me. And I'm not saying that like every single little thing has to be a metaphor in this series, but I don't know, that feels like it probably could be. I just don't know what it would be referring to in this situation. Now, we also got to hang out a little bit with one of their other classmates. I don't know if we have a name for him, but he really likes fried chicken. And he wanted to get that plush from the claw machine in order to give to a girl, presumably the one he was making the fried chicken with, I'm thinking. And so I'm wondering how much more we're going to see like through these other side characters, because we're getting little bits of them. We're getting a little bit of him in this episode. In the last episode, we got little hints towards the one girl who has like the spiritual awareness and everything. And I'm just really curious as to what this series is going to do with them. Like, what kind of role are they going to end up playing? Because I believe both of these characters are in the opening. Like, notably shown in the opening, too. Not just, like, a random background thing. So, I'm just wondering, like, how big of a role are they going to end up playing? Are they going to, like, find out about Hikaru? I don't know. But I'm very curious. I'm very curious. We're setting up, I feel, still quite a bit. And I'm just hoping that the payoffs for all of this ends up being really good. I'm trusting that it will, because I have no reason to believe otherwise right now, but still. I'm also kind of curious if this is going to end up being more than a single season show. I don't know if this is like a shorter series in terms of the manga, or if this is going to have enough content for a second season or more. I don't know. I have no idea, like, what the source material is like. And you can tell me that in the comments, obviously. Like, you can tell me, like, oh, there's enough material for a second season or whatnot. Just as long as you don't spoil any details or information. It's like, yeah. You can tell me if there's enough material or not. Or if you think this season's going to be it. That I'm fine with. Because that doesn't really spoil much of anything. But yeah. This is just continuing to be a fantastic series with a lot of great metaphors. And I'm very interested to see where they continue to take this as it progresses. And if it does become like fully, like just fully blatant with it, and just basically comes out and has them come get together, that would be cool. But I'm not like necessarily holding my breath for that. But we'll see. Thank you so much as always for tuning in. Let me know your thoughts down below. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.